Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. I'm your host, Sam Lance, and I'm joined once again by co-host Jackson Bezdek. And Jackson, I hate to say it, man, but I messed up a little bit. I forgot to wear the KU shorts on Tuesday morning. I woke up on Tuesday, and my buddy Asa and it was our plan the whole day to go out, hit the bike trails that we just discovered really hard. The mountain bike trails. I just woke up, didn't think anything of it, went out on the bike trails, and here we are. Kansas loses at home to BYU to forfeit any chance of winning the Big 12 conference. It may be my fault, but it's definitely not ideal for the Jayhawks, Jackson.
No, that was what we say earlier this year. You can never lose at home, and Kansas lost at home, and now it could be panic time, but we'll see.
Not ideal for the Jayhawks, but they still do have a lot to play for, including Big 12 tournament seeding, NCAA tournament seeding. So, of course, we still kind of have a lot to talk about here on The Hum. So without further ado, here we go. Episode 26 of The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast. Well, all right, Jackson, we mentioned it. Kansas loses to BYU at home, 76-68, your final score. Kansas, they had a 41-29 lead with about 18 minutes to play in the second half before it started kind of falling apart. The last 7 minutes of the game, BYU goes on a 26-12 run, and that basically does it. KU loses 76-68, and KU also shot 6 of 26 from the field in that last 18 minutes of action and missed 9 free throws in the second half. Jackson, where do you want to start with this game?
I don't know, Sam. I think I can't remember a time where Kansas blows a double-digit lead in the second half on their own floor. I mean, my goodness, I was confident. Second half comes in, BYU starts making a little run. I'm like, all right, I've seen this a million times. They're going to make a run. It's going to get ugly. Kansas is going to pull it out by 4 or 5. It just didn't happen. Kansas, it looked like they shut down in the second half. And I mean, BYU hit some really good shots, but we knew they were going to do that. Everybody knew BYU was going to hit some shots from outside. And Kansas they got punched in the mouth and they didn't respond. They just let it bleed.
Yeah, offensively in that second half, Kansas literally could not get anything going whatsoever. In that second half, KU's points per possession, 0.868. That's just simply not going to do it. And BYU, it's not like BYU is this hard-nosed, tough defensive team.
Nope.
BYU should not be holding Kansas to 68 points. So, yeah, it was a very demoralizing loss for Kansas. It snapped a 71-game winning streak in Allen Fieldhouse when leading at the half. It snapped a 65-game winning streak against unranked opponents. Granted, BYU is probably on the verge of being ranked and unranked, but still, yeah. Also, KU was up 8 at Allen Fieldhouse with 14 minutes left in the double bonus. And Kansas still ended up losing this game, Jackson.
Doesn't even happen. I mean, you get to shoot. Well, okay. Double bonus is only helpful if you knock it down. And I mean, Hunter, what was up with that? 6 of 15 from the line? That is not like him whatsoever. Oh, my goodness. Just nothing went. I mean, KJ missed how many bunnies in the second half at the rim? I mean, goodness gracious. It's just anything Kansas wanted to do, it just simply did not work. And that was frustrating, Sam. That was probably the most pissed I've been after a loss all year, even more the UCF game, even more than the K-State game. I mean, I've seen, with my own eyes, 5 home losses ever. I mean, growing up, it was just such an automatic. There's a 3-4 year streak we had going then. And it's a different game now, but that never happens. You never blow double-digit second half leads in Allen Fieldhouse. It never, ever happens. And I don't know how. I still don't know how it happened. I'm still so shocked.
Is it bad, BYU won by 8? Is it bad that I'm not shocked? To be completely honest, I am not shocked that Kansas lost this game.
Not bad. It's not. I mean, from a game perspective, if you told me BYU went up 6 in the first half and just stayed up the whole game, yeah, that would surprise me a lot less because I could see that happening. But Kansas actually having control and then pissing it down their leg in front of 16,300, that's what surprises me.
Yeah. What I thought was most demoralizing about this game, Jackson, is, like BYU shooting. It's a real thing. What did we talk about whenever we previewed BYU? All we talked about was their 3-point shooting and that they're going to make those threes. And Kansas, I guarantee you, the scouting report said, this guy could shoot. This guy could shoot. All these guys can shoot. What's so demoralizing is that Kansas knew that this was going to be a thing, and BYU still was able to pretty much torch Kansas from beyond the arc. 13 of 34 from three. Kansas, I believe, was 3 of 9, something like that. Sorry, no, 3 of 15. 3 of 15. Kansas was outscored by 30 points beyond the arc, and Kansas knew that they couldn't allow that to happen to win the game. They still let it happen. That is what is demoralizing about this for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you know they're gonna do it. You know it's coming. Anytime they got into their rhythm and went up for a shot, especially in the second half, it's oh my goodness. You could feel it go in before it went in because everybody knew it was coming. And I don't know why the 5 guys on the floor, they know it's coming too, and they still didn't get a hand up. Oh my gosh, it was ridiculous. Like, let them make 62 pointers. I do not care. Just don't let them beat you from the outside, especially because we can't shoot. So every time they make a 3 and then we go down and make a 2, that's 3 is more than 2. That's how the Warriors were so good for all that time because they were scoring in 3s and not 2s. Yeah. And how do you can't the best 3-point shooting team in the conference walks into your building and you let them chuck up 35? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. And Bill Self said that he kind of saw this coming, actually, post game. This was a quote from him. He said things like this happen, but it's also me, you could feel this coming today in shoot around. I mean, we had a terrible shoot around and, the focus wasn't very good. The energy level wasn't very good. You could feel this coming, and it's not anything from an attitude standpoint. It's just, it happens over the course of the season. I don't understand how you can be unfocused going against a BYU team that's good and you're playing for Big 12 title conference hopes, like that just seems a little, I don't know, that's not very settling with me, Jackson, that quote.
I don't like it either. This BYU's first ever game at Allen Fieldhouse is member of the Big 12, and you just let him beat you.
Can't let that happen.
What the hell? What the hell is that? You just let him beat you? Like, hey, welcome to the conference. We own this. Do you? Because these Mormons just walked in and lit it up on your ass for 40 straight minutes. He's right. The attitudes, we're not trying to say that any of these guys don't care, that they're not trying. That's just so far from the case. It's just like an IQ thing for me at this point. Like, it's coming. How are you not concerned about it? How are you not pissed off when they make 4 in a row? How are you not doing anything to get out in the 3-point line and make them go by you? I don't know. I think Kevin not playing is the real lack of leadership is showing. I mean, who is the vocal leader on this team without Kevin? And it's nobody. It's literally nobody. It's still Kevin, and he is not even in uniform.
Yeah. Kansas, 76-68 loss. Hunter Dickinson in this game, 17-11, not bad, but he had the 6 of 15 from the free throw line that absolutely killed Kansas. DeJuan Harris was actually really good in this game. DeJuan's been really good lately overall. Yes. 12 points, 6 assists. Furphy had a little bit of an off game with 10 points, 0 of 5 from 3, but he had 9 rebounds, flirting with a double-double again, back-to-back games. KJ Adams with 11 points, 5 rebounds, but he was very inefficient, 5 of 13. That's just not KJ. Timberlake was 1 of 9 from the field, and you got some good contributions from Jamari. And I thought Elmarco Jackson was okay in this game, but yeah, just everybody slightly off for Kansas offensively. Ends up in the loss. Really, the only positive to kind of take away from this game, DeJuan Harris moves into the top 5 all time in KU assists. He passed Devontae Graham. He now has 636 assists to Devontae's 632. So congrats to Juan for getting up there in assists.
That's awesome. I mean, I saw that list. Did you see Aaron Miles' numbers?
It's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
If
Over
DeJuan has 2 more
900.
years, can he catch him? Like, I mean,
Like that's it. This is getting into unbreakable record territory for Kansas hoops. Like that might be it. That literally might stand forever, especially nowadays when it's very rare to play for 4 years. But DeJuan's a guy who could, I mean, shoot, I could see him staying for 2 more years. And he's been really good lately. Like you said, he's looking for a shot. He's shooting at a high percentage right now. That's better. I mean, everybody else. Oh my, that was so annoying. Like Furphy shoots bad from the three. You take that. That's gonna happen. But he does things on both ends, effort wise, that make up for it.
you can't,
Timberlake.
you can't have both Furphy and Timberlake though go a combined 1 of 11, which they did, and that's KU's 2 perimeter
Yeah,
shooters right there. Like
those are
that's
the two guys that Bill's like, we need one of them out there for shooting. Really? That's okay. Okay, bud. That was I mean, Timberlake cannot go for one for I mean, look, Timberlake gave us a really nice game on Saturday, right? So let's just enjoy that for a little bit longer because look, he's not gonna put together two straight like, oh man, Nick Timberlake. That's just not what he's gonna do for us. So I hope Saturday he can bounce back and hit some shots. He's just such a confidence guy. If he hits the first one or the first two, he's gonna have a good game. But
yeah.
if he misses the first one, it's the complete inverse. Like he's such a he's like the biggest you got to make the first one guy I've watched here in a long time. And he didn't make the first one last or on Tuesday, and then he missed all of them.
He did. He did indeed. Another thing about this loss, Jackson, that just kind of has me not sitting the best is, we kind of mentioned this before the BYU game, kind of saying how this team is kind of the recipe for, a team that can knock Kansas out. Well, that game, what we saw in that game is exactly the recipe to get Kansas out of the tournament. They go a little cold on offense and they can't guard the three. I mean, that's that's the recipe right there for Kansas losing the NCAA tournament game. And another quote from Self after the game that kind of got me a little uneasy is Self said, "This is who we are. When we're pretty good, we're pretty good, and when we're not, we're not." And Kansas, that's not a good recipe for the NCAA tournament. And I'm pretty sure Kansas now hasn't won 3 straight games in quite some time. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it has been a while since
Sure
Kansas
feels
has
like
won 3 straight games.
sure feels like it's been a while. I mean, look, you're right. That's the scariest part about this is and America has unlocked what beats the Jayhawks. As a 3 seed right now, and that's probably where they end up unless they get to the Big 12 championship
Two
game.
seed, I think, is still looking pretty okay.
Then your 6 and 7 seeds that you could potentially play is like Wisconsin, South Carolina, St. Mary's. These are all dynamic offenses. You look at Boise State, they can put the ball in the hole. Texas Tech's already beaten us. These are teams that Kansas would have to play in the second round. And I mean, at least for sure Wisconsin can, for sure St. Mary's, and for sure, I mean, South Carolina, these teams can light it up. And you get them in a second round and you aren't completely focused and locked in, you are going home early. You are.
Last year, Jackson, whenever I remember Selection Sunday so well because we were all sitting there, and I remember Alabama, I think it was, or Houston. Houston ended up getting the 1 seed in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Alabama
Yeah.
got the #1 overall seed. And the second that happened, I was like, oh no, like we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get put in the West, and it's gonna be a spooky bracket. The second that I saw Arkansas
Me too.
below us in last year's NCAA tournament, I was like, okay, well, this is not good because they were the exact type of team last year that could give Kansas problems. They were athletic, quick, just caused all sorts of havoc, just kept coming at you
A lot
and
of
at
guards.
you.
A lot of guards.
This team, similarly, not in the same style, like kind of a totally different type of team, but
Yeah.
a team like BYU who chucks up a bunch of threes and is pretty dynamic offensively, like that's a matchup that I'm looking at on Selection Sunday, and I'm probably saying like, oh no, like this is not good. And if Kansas gets upset in the first weekend again this year, like next year it's going to be very magnetized for Kansas to go on a deep run because we're Kansas fans and
Yep.
we expect excellence. And, that BYU game I'm sorry, but it's what an NCAA tournament loss would look like for this team.
I mean, there are 4 teams in the top 20 of offensive efficiency that we could realistically play in the second round. That terrifies me. I don't think Kansas can beat any single one of them without Kevin McCullough. I mean, straight up. I didn't say Clemson, but they're in that list too. Like, these are all teams that can absolutely beat Kansas, especially if Kevin McCullough is down. Because, dude, I mean, I think DeJuan is a leader, and I think KJ is a leader, but they're not locker room hype speech guy leaders, right? You feed off of KJ's energy when he pumps up the crowd. You love the way DeJuan plays, and you want to play like him, and you want to give that effort. They're not guys that are going to stand in the huddle and be like, hey, come on, we got to go. Kansas doesn't have that right now. And McCullough can do it. That's great. But it means more if you have the jersey on. And it means more if you're sweating as much as everybody else out there. That's got to matter at some point. And if Kansas is heading into March with no plans of McCullough returning, which we'll get into, I don't think they make it past the first weekend, straight up, if they get matched up with one of these teams.
Right now, Kansas is a 3 for Lenardi, and they would play either South Carolina, Gonzaga, or Providence in the second round if they beat Cornell.
Shoot, yeah, we didn't even talk about the 11 seeds that could beat Kansas in that second round game.
I hate to say this tournament is going to be nearly impossible for people to fill out. Also, on just other sides, looking at the 6-11, you got St. Mary's, Indiana State. Like, to be honest, think either of those teams could beat Kansas. Dayton, South Florida is a 6-11. That's kind of spooky. Wisconsin, New Mexico, or Seton Hall. That's pretty spooky. And then 7-10s, Utah State, Virginia, Texas Tech, Nevada, Florida Atlantic, Boise State, Wake Forest. Like, this is spooky.
Kansas, Virginia would be 49-43 final. that would be the final score. That game would be disgusting. Yeah, it's scary time, Sam. I mean, it's only scary because it is March right now. Today is March 1st. So all of this, let's wait for this. Let's see how done. It's over. It's time to go now. So the team that Kansas has right now, I do not have a lot of faith in that team just because there's clear matchup problems that teams can exploit. And in March is when that comes out the most. The teams that win every March are the teams with the least amount of flaws. UConn last year, Kansas 2 years ago, Baylor 3 or 4 years ago. Like, those teams had minimal flaws. Or in their flaws, they had guys who could come off the bench and fill those roles. This Kansas team is just not even close to any of that.
Yeah. Kansas has lost all hope of a Big 12 title. So right now, it is like Kansas is focused on March. Like, Bill Self was asked, kind of what the focus is for it's playing for NCAA tournament seeding, playing for Big 12 tournament seeding, working out as many kinks as this team has before March Madness starts. So, yeah. Right now, if I'm Kansas, like, honestly, I'm praying for a 2 seed because I would like those 6-11s looked scary.
I agree,
I'm
man.
praying for a 2 seed if I'm Kansas right now.
I think the gap in those 6 seeds, the 7 seeds is pretty wide right now. But I mean, like, yeah, you're right. It's tough looks right now for Kansas. It's fine to be, focused on March and look ahead. I've always wondered what fans of teams who don't win their conferences every single year do in this kind of time. And now I know, and it's just not fun. It's like what you're playing for seeding. Like, I feel like that's pretty lame. I mean, why? Like, there's no championship to go win right now. So what are we even suiting up for? This is an unprecedented territory for me. Because even in those years we didn't win the Big 12, they were still in it till almost the last day, or at least the last week. It's already over, and we're just kind of hanging out. And I mean, I don't know what Bill's doing. He's probably thinking the same thing I am. Like, what the hell do I even do right now?
How bad, Jackson, did you, like, looking at the Big 12 schedule preseason, how bad did you want it to come down to Kansas at Houston? Because that was like, I had that game circled on my calendar all year just because I was like, the Big 12 could come down to that game. And now it's just another game. Like, dang it.
I thought it was going to be I honestly thought Kansas would have been up 1 game heading into that game, with Houston having a chance to beat us, to clinch and share, and us having a chance to beat them and win outright. That's what I thought. I mean, this is this might be the highest expectations I've had for a Kansas team that they haven't met. Like 2022, I was on that. 2020, 2019, 2020, we were bad. I was on that. Like, or 2018, 2019. I got this team wrong. I did. I thought that Houston game was
Not
going to be
over. It's not
a
over yet, Jackson. This team still
ESPN
has a
7
lot.
p.m. I'm just saying for Big 12 purposes. I don't think this is ever this team's goal to win the Big 12. It just never looked like it. Just losing those road games and just not really caring about it. The intent. I just don't think the intensity was there to go on a 2-month run, and that's okay. That's okay. The team wasn't built for it.
Well, I think the problem is, Jackson, and this kind of brings up our next point, is Kansas just doesn't really have an identity this year.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Self had a lot of very, very interesting quotes in yesterday's press conference about this. So, like, he was asked about Kansas' identity, and he said, I would say we're a pretty tough team. We're pretty tough-minded. He said, I would say we're starting to understand our roles better, but as an identity, I don't know if we're an execution team or if we're an aggressive loose ball team. I don't know if our athleticism makes up for mistakes. I don't know if we can make plays that you can't coach athletically. But he said, I think we do all those things fairly decent without having one thing in particular to hang their hat on. But yeah, he's like, we're not great at anything, which like that's not necessarily a negative, but I would say that it's not a positive, for Kansas. So this is what Self said, the definition for determining identity, which I thought was very, very interesting. If you're Kansas right now, and I'll ask you this question, Jackson, would you rather be down one with the ball with 10 seconds left, or would you rather be up one, the other team has the ball with 10 seconds left? Right now, Self said in certain ways he'd rather be down, and in certain ways he'd rather be up one. So what do you think, Jackson? What's just kind of your stance on this Kansas team, their identity?
I think if it's at Allen Fieldhouse, I'd absolutely like to be up one because teams are shooting one for 24,000 in the last 10 seconds in that building. I mean, in general, too, though, before the year, I would have absolutely been like up one or down one with the ball. You give it to Hunter, he goes to work, he scores 2 points, Kansas wins. It has not been that easy since the TCU game. That was the last time I was like when Kansas was down to TCU and they gave it to Hunter with 4 seconds left and he scores a layup. That was one of the easiest plays I've seen all season for Kansas. I don't know why that hasn't been able to happen again. But honestly, like if you're giving me that specific situation on a neutral floor against a good team, I want to be up one simply because I don't think I trust Kansas enough. I don't trust this team to go get me a bucket, especially with Kevin now. Like Hunter's great. Everything he does with the ball is great. I've been a joy to watch this year. He cannot create his own shot. He cannot get to his spot by himself. He needs help. And this team is a bad post entry team. Teams have done a really nice job bothering DeJuan at the top of the key, more so than when he drives. Because when they bother him at the top of the key, it's harder for him to get it to Hunter. So he has to swing it to a guy like Timberlake to try to get it to Hunter. And then we saw at the end of the Baylor game how Timberlake's post entry passes go. So I just would rather guard. I actually think the best thing this team does is defense outside of covering the 3-point line every now and then. But I actually think this team is one of the better defensive teams in the country. It's just when things like Tuesday happen, it's frustrating to say that because Kansas has the ability to do something about it, and they just kind of there's more defensive talent than there is dog inside of these guys.
I'm with you. I would say that I would rather be up one with this Kansas team. And I do think that if Kansas wants to hang their hat on something, it should be defense to make a run. Like you got Kevin McCullough, you got DeJuan Harris. They should be able to neutralize opposing guards. I'll say it. Johnny Furphy is literally miles and miles and miles along defensively than what he was. Like you see him out there, his
Dude,
hands
it's
up, just
crazy.
hovering over guards.
It's
Like
crazy.
he's been doing a great job. Really, it's how is Kansas going to defend ball screens and not, get Hunter Dickinson in bad spots? Like that's going to be the key for this team. But yeah, I think defensively is what Kansas is going to have to hang their hat on. But still, I don't think this team has an identity, and that is going to hurt. Like you look at UConn this year, UConn's identity, like they'll just run offense and score. They'll just run the hell out of offense. Like I'm trying to think of like Purdue, their identity is Zach Edey. Like
That's true. It's true.
they're
It's
gonna
true.
throw it into him and like the
Houston, you
national
have trouble scoring 50 against them. You know,
the national
Arizona's got guys who can light it up.
I would say
Kansas
the
have,
Kansas national championship team, Jackson, had a very clear identity. Like
yeah.
they would the big thing was rebound and grab and go. And just that team could just score. Like offensively, they could just run and score on their own. This team doesn't have an identity, and it does scare me a little bit.
We were stacked, man. Having three wings like Jalen, Och, and CB like running the floor together. You only know how good you have it until it's gone. I mean, man, that was a good time. But
It's
yeah, there's
interesting because Self even said that year, I believe this was kind of uncovered in the Vernon story. Like Self said, like, yeah, that year, I didn't think we were all that good.
yeah.
And like looking back now, like that team was so good, dude.
Team was loaded, man.
That
And you
team
had
was
Remy
awesome.
coming off the bench. Like, oh my god. Remy's a 2,000 point scorer just hanging out on our bench. I mean, there's that, but you're right. Like that team was really good at putting the ball in the basket, like really, really good. And they could get stops under 2 minutes. That's another important thing. Even though that wasn't like the best defensive team Self's ever had, that team could get stops when they needed to. This team is not the best offensive team Bill Self's ever had. And there's not like okay, there's always been a play where, okay, we need a bucket. Let's go run this. I don't see that play this year. And maybe when Kevin's in, it's way easier to get that stuff done. But hey, Kevin's not in right now. So, you can't, I don't know. I like that Bill isn't taking this season like super seriously and letting it affect his health that much. But there's a sense to me that he's kind of ready for next year. Kind of tired of this McCullough injury stuff. Kind of just he looks at his team and he doesn't like it. It's not supposed to look this way. Arterio Morris is supposed to be out there fixing all of these holes that we keep bringing up. Except he needs to fix himself first, so we can have him. And it's just been a frustrating full season, honestly. Honestly.
It's been frustrating, but it could get a lot better with a good run for Kansas in March Madness. This one last thing before we head to the under four, just a quick Kevin McCullough status update. This is what Bill Self said about Kevin yesterday. He said, quote, I think he's doing better. I don't know when he'll play next, but he's gaining on it. Hopefully we can get him back out there. Somebody asked if there's a chance for him to play against Baylor tomorrow, and he said there is a chance for him to play against Baylor if he can practice full speed Thursday and Friday. If he can't, no. I would assume that Kevin probably won't play, and although Kansas needs him back pretty bad, as we can see via the BYU game, uh, I think Kevin still, it would be best for him to take some rest. Like ideally, perfect case scenario, I think in my mind would for him to either come back and play versus Houston or come back for the Big 12 tournament. So he at least has some games for Kansas to get
Yep.
comfortable before March Madness.
I want him for that exact reason. I want him back for the Big 12 tournament. If he comes back within these next three games, he better be really, really healthy. And
Like
I better not have to worry about him.
100% healthy.
You cannot play him in the regular season at this point and have any risk for a tweak or anything like that.
I agree.
And look, guys, it's so annoying, especially after the Jalen Daniels stuff all year. The game to game, let's see how they're feeling, is the worst thing you can tell a fan base. Just the worst. I mean, we're trying to get behind you and come support you and be loud for you. It's tough to do that when nobody tells us who's going to play. It's really tough to do that. It's really tough to trust in a coaching staff, in a training staff, when they're just like, well, you might play, you might not. We'll have to see when the ball tips. Like, dude, I mean, I get it. It's a
That's just
college
sports
kid
though. Yeah, like
dealing with
that's
this
just how it goes.
bone bruise. I mean, bone bruises are weird already, and that can feel different every morning you wake up. It can feel different, and I get it. It's really frustrating because Like people just want Bill to be like, look, he's not healthy right now. He's probably not going to play until the Big 12. So stop asking me. And instead, people keep asking him, and he's like, well, I don't know. We'll see. Like, how many I don't know, we'll sees do you need before you stop asking him the damn question? God. Anyway.
Yeah. So KU getting Kevin back, hopefully pretty soon. Like this quote is way better than what he was saying,
Yeah.
before BYU that he might like he hopes to get him back this year. So yeah, Kevin McCullough hopefully will be back soon. We will be back soon at the under 4 timeout. We'll be talking a little bit of Baylor, and then we will give our Big 12 tournament preview / predictions and name our conference awards. So join us here soon.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 as we all get ready for the best month of the year, March Madness. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use the bonus code FIELD150 and you will get $150 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's the best part. All you need to do is deposit and bet $5 of your hard-earned money. This is how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD150. That's FIELD150. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD150 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available in one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in Philly or New York, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create a new account in each state. It's easy, it's simple, and it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the conference tournaments and for the NCAA tournament. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boost, and my personal favorite, a nice little parlay boost here and there. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Big news, guys. I am thrilled to announce that we have partnered with Autograph, a company founded by the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. The Autograph fandom app gives you access to the best college hoops content, fan contests, and exclusive rewards like discounted tickets, all for doing the things that diehard fans like you already do, following your favorite team in the news and listening to podcasts just like this one. When Tom, and yes, I am calling him Tom, we're on a first name basis these days, co-founded Autograph, he had one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. It works like this. You get all of your college hoops content you want in one place. You get articles from your favorite writers, pods from your favorite hosts, contests from your favorite creators, all on the feeds and the sites that you already enjoy. But instead of having to go to all these different places, it all comes to you in one spot, the Autograph fandom app. But here's the best part. The more content that you consume, the higher you rank in the app. As you consider the level up in status on the app, you can unlock unique rewards curated exclusively for you. So download the free Autograph app in the App Store and use the referral code F68, that's F68, or tap in at the link in the description below or in the podcast app of your choosing to start earning points for doing something as normal as listening to this very podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. We are now here to discuss Baylor, the Baylor Bears, who Kansas ended up beating last time inside Allen Fieldhouse. But as we remember, that last 20 seconds or so of the game, Jackson, was pretty crazy. Probably the most memorable 20 seconds of a final that I can remember in a while, with Nick Timberlake kind of messing things up and really us trying to just give Baylor any chance to win this game against us. But Kansas ended up winning 64-61. Really, my takeaway from that game, Jackson, is just how good that Yves Missi guy is. And I think stopping him is probably going to be the biggest key for Kansas.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you watched that Houston, they hosted Houston. He sold so bad for Baylor. Oh my gosh. he had a shot down one at the rim with like 8 seconds left and just dropped it and it flew in the air and he lost it. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad for him. Yeah, I mean, I actually thought I felt like that Baylor game, the first one, wasn't as close as it was. I mean, it was kind of like
Kansas dominated that whole game.
yeah, like 2 minutes left. I was like, whoa, 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 why is this a game now? Why have been winning all game? I honestly Kansas plays pretty well in Waco for the most part. That's not really not one of the haunted places of the Big 12 for us. But look, I mean, especially at home, Kansas coming to town, Baylor's going to shoot really, really well. And if you let Misi do whatever he wants, and they're shooting really, really well, it's gonna be a long afternoon. So, and I mean, just I don't even want to say anything until I know about McCullough because that just changes everything for Kansas. It changes how they run offense. It changes who guards who. It changes who has the ball. 5 minutes left. It just everything changes. But say he's not playing, uphill battle for Kansas. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in this game is going to be, and something to look out for is who guards Misi and how Kansas decides to guard the pick and roll based off who guards Misi. So look out for that, and we'll probably discuss that on our next episode, which will actually be right after the Baylor game. Game's at noon. So we will do a second live react of the season. Last time we did that, Kansas lost to Iowa State. So let's hope for a win that we're discussing there. But yeah, also with Baylor, they got a new building, Foster Pavilion, tough
Yep.
place to play. I think it's going to be absolutely rocking in there. So it's going to be a tough game. And Self said they can put 4 shooters around one, and they have a rim runner. Those are the hardest teams to guard. Baylor's hard to guard. But defensively, of course, they're not great. And Bill Self actually said to expect zone because they played a lot of it versus TCU. And Kansas really hasn't been great against zone this year. So maybe Baylor will throw that at Kansas. But yeah, going to be a big one against Baylor to kind of see where this team is at. I would like to see Kansas play this game without Kevin McCullough just to see, where Timberlake, where some of these bench guys really are and to get them some minutes in a raucous environment. I think that would be good.
No, yeah, I agree. This is definitely probably the first game that what was I guess at Tech he was out, but I think this is a bigger test than at Tech, I would say, even though we lost by 30. Yeah, you're right. It'd be good to see. It'd be good to see Timberlake play well in high pressure minutes away from Allen Fieldhouse. Like that could really, I mean, that could make a huge difference come tournament time because that is a big boost of confidence for him. If he can play really well in an opposing arena, that actually, I think, opens up some things that maybe we can give Timberlake a little bit more trust, rolling into tournament time, even if Kevin comes back.
Yep. So we got Baylor, Kansas at noon on Saturday on the road. Should be a good game. But now, Jackson and I, we want to talk a little bit about the Big 12 tournament, kind of preview that and give our predictions. Right now, KU is third in the Big 12 conference. You got Houston at 12-3. You got Iowa State at 11-4. I don't think anybody's really catching those two. Those are probably your top 2 seeds. But then you got us and Baylor at 9-6. 3 teams, Tech, BYU, and TCU at 8-7. And then you got Texas, Oklahoma State, Kansas State at 7-8. So the top 10 teams in the conference are separated by 2 games right now with that 2 through 10 or sorry, 3 through 10 are separated by just 2 games. So could still be a lot of shakeup in this tournament, but right now it would be Kansas as the 3 seed, and they would play the 6 seed or the 14 or the 11 seed. In the first round, it's looking like a BYU rematch or West Virginia or UCF. So that would be pretty cool. I think if Kansas rematches BYU on a neutral floor, that they will probably spank them pretty good, a little revenge game. And then you're looking at Iowa State between Kansas in a championship, either Iowa State or TCU. I really scarily like KU's chances to win this tournament if they are the 4 seed and if they are on the bottom of the bracket and play an Iowa State. I like Kansas' chances. Both would be revenge games, BYU and Iowa State.
Shoot, every game's a revenge game for Kansas now. I think Houston runs away with this. I think the team that gives them the best game in the championship game is Kansas. I agree with you there. I think Kansas absolutely has a chance to win this thing if they don't have to play Houston until the last game. I've been so impressed with Houston the past month or so, man. I mean, the only hiccup they've had is getting beat by us in Allen Fieldhouse. Okay, write that one off. Who cares? Since then, they have responded. I mean, they go down and they win in Waco in a really, really tough game where it should have been like Jamal Shed hits a game winner and oh, you missed it by 0.2 seconds. Instead of that completely demoralizing them, they run Baylor out of the gym in overtime. I mean, every chance they have of like to face adversity, they just win. They've been so impressive. I was a huge Houston fraud watch guy all the past couple of years coming into this year.
They're
I was
legit.
like, Kansas is running away with. Don't give me this Kansas Houston for the Big 12 crap. Kansas is running away with this thing. Houston's not ready. Houston has been very, very ready. I mean, they lost 2 conference losses like kind of right away, I think, and then since then it's been like they've settled in and they've been crushing teams.
To come into the Big 12, how good it is this year and win it just like kind of like it's nothing for Houston is pretty crazy. So I have for my Big 12 tournament predictions, I have Kansas and Houston in the championship game. I think it will happen. And that would be awesome. I will be at the Big 12 tournament. I will be there with coverage on really all the teams. So it's going to be a fun time, the Big 12 tournament. We got one last thing, y'all, really quick before we head out of here. And Jackson and I are going to give our conference award winners. We got Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year, Coach of the Year, and Most Improved. I'll go ahead and start. I think the Player of the Year now, it was Kevin McCullough. It's got to be Hunter Dickinson now. I mean, he's just putting up insane numbers. Like you can't. He's second in the Big 12 in points, first in rebounding. And I'm pretty sure he's second in field goal percentage still. So it's got to be Hunter Dickinson for your Player of the Year with McCullough injured now. My Freshman of the Year, I think it's between 2 Baylor players. It's between Walter and Misi. Right now, I'm giving the edge to Misi just for how good he has been down the stretch. So I got Dickinson Player of the Year, Misi Freshman of the Year. I got Otts as the Coach of the Year. I think he should be the National Coach of the Year. ISU, they were picked 7th in the league, and they could still, or preseason that was, and they could still win it. And then Most Improved, I'm going to give the shout out to Dylan Disu. He's gone from 8.8 points per game to 17 and leading Texas this year. If he doesn't win Most Improved, I don't know what's going on, but those are my 4. Dickinson Player of the Year, Misi Freshman of the Year, Otzelberger Coach of the Year, and Disu for Most Improved Player.
Yep, got to agree with you on the first one. I mean, who else are you going to find other than Harry? 17-point double-double, top 3 team in the Big 12. That's just shoo-in. That I would love to see who they could come up other than Hunter. I mean, you can be Jamal Shed it's not about the numbers, but all right, dude, but Hunter's numbers are so ridiculous, you got to give it to him. Freshman of the Year, I'm going to go with Jacoby Walter. He's averaging 15 a game. He's honestly a potential top 5 pick. His game's really smooth. He doesn't really look like a freshman when you watch him. I mean, he's a big moment guy. He's going to have a March moment. I'm excited to see how that goes. Agree with you about Coach. It's got to be Otts. I mean, the way I like looking at Coach of the Year, you take the best 3 or 4 teams in the conference, and whoever's got the least amount of talent. I think that's how it should be done. It's clearly Iowa State compared to Kansas and Baylor and Houston. And Iowa State's better than Kansas and Baylor this year. So Otts should be a shoo-in for that, in my opinion. And then I think his point guard should win Most Improved. I mean, I also think Disu should win Most Improved, but I needed to be a little different.
You think Lipsy?
I like Taman Lipsy, man. I like that. He went from 7 a game last year to 13 a game this year. He's averaging 1 more assist, and he's averaging less turnovers with a higher usage rate. He's the reason they're cooking. He's their DeJuan. He's their Jamal Shed. He just is. I mean, he runs that show, and he has been he averaged 7 last year, just like that's right in DeJuan's range, right?
Yep.
The jump to 14 a game.
And the Big 12.
We've been wanting DeJuan to do that, and that's not really DeJuan's game. Lipsy changed his game because he knew they needed him to score more, and he just doubled his scoring total. It's been a very impressive season for him and the Cyclones as a whole.
Really, you could honestly argue McCullough, if he was healthy, for most improved too, going from 10
Yeah,
to 20
technically you
games,
could.
honestly. But all right, y'all, that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you very much for joining us here on episode 26 of The Hum. We will be back right after the Baylor game for an instant react episode. So we'll see you guys then. Rock Chalk. Let's hope Kansas gets the win against Baylor for NCAA tournament seeding, because the Big 12 has been forgotten. And I will wear the shorts, everybody. I promise you, I will not forget. It actually is kind of crazy, the mojo, though. The fact that I didn't wear them and instantly lost.
I'm a firm believer in the shorts. Firm. Like, these things are real.
Oh, they're real, Jackson. And they're not being taken off again. So don't worry, everybody. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.